Hey, folks, I hope you all are having a great week. I hope your Thursday went very well. I appreciate you all joining me on this live stream. Some of you will be on here live. Some of you will likely be on here through a replay. Whether you're on the replay or the live, please comment, ask questions along the way. If I don't get to it during the live, I'll get to it in some sort of follow-up after this is posted back up in the group. But I think everybody probably knows me, Joel Sangerman, and this is some of you are in the Facebook group, some of you are in the YouTube channel, but this is something that we've been doing each Thursday evening. We might add some additional nights, additional times where I can get you some of this education. And if that's something you're interested in, make sure that you at least subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps in terms of, understanding if there's a demand for this from the folks in the group. And we can put out some more content, some live deal flows and things of that nature. So I do appreciate everybody joining me. I have a coaching program, and some of the folks from the coaching program may have also joined us. They obviously have invested in themselves to be on the accelerated pathway to implement these strategies, build cash flow, build long-term wealth, and put themselves in a financial situation that allows them to get the time freedom, the financial freedom. Some people, are looking to change jobs, leave their job. They're just tired of the rat race, and real estate provides a mechanism to really get anything you want out of life, because we're leveraging our brain instead of our brawn. We're not trading time for money. But if you're going to leverage your brain, then we have to actually load the skills into our brain and learn how to communicate those skills in a way that allows us to actually put numbers on the board by acquiring properties from sellers and putting the right buyers in those properties so that we can realize the fruits of our labor. So that's what this is about. That's what we've been doing. What I've done is I've run through a fair amount of slides, so to speak, and it's going to help the information resonate a little better with you when I show these slides. So I'm gonna do that again. We are going in an order here, so it is important to possibly go back and watch from a couple of weeks ago, and you'll see things like this. Let me while I'm pulling this up, I'll just mention to you that all of y'all, if you like what you're hearing here, you have the ability to schedule a one-on-one Zoom call. It will be with me. It's not going to be some douchey salesperson. You're going to get me, and we'll see if we can help you in one way or another. Obviously, as it relates to coaching, you have to be able to put at least a few $1,000s into investing in your skills. I don't really make money on the coaching. I make money on the joint venture deals later on, but you got to ante up, put some kind of tuition in if you want to get what real estate has to offer. So y'all can schedule a call. I think actually, I'm going to put this little banner up so you can see. I think if I do that, I think it'll give you the link. Yeah, that'll give you the link. All right, but let's get into the meat of this. Let's get into the meat of what y'all came here for, which is to hear about why sellers are willing to sell us houses in the way we want to buy them, even though you might not do that if you were in the same situation. So we'll just go through like a very quick little review here of some of the stuff that I've shared. We put ourselves in a position to buy any house from any seller. Okay, so again, go back. I don't want to go through each slide, but that we've already covered. But if you go back and watch the videos from a couple of weeks ago, you'll hear all the pertinent information relative to each of these bullet points. Okay. One of the things that we do is taking over payments, and that's something that I'm going to hyper focus on tonight, is why people will let us just take over their loan payments, even though we don't pay off the loan, meaning we close on the house, we own the house. Their name stays on the loan. They've exited the scene. Their name is still on that loan, but we own the house. And why would anybody do that? Well, there's lots of good reasons why. And we're there to pick up as many properties as we want that way. So we do that. Sometimes you'll get a deal where maybe they'll let you take over the loan, and you're not assuming the loan. You're not going in and qualifying for the loan. You're just agreeing to make the payments on the loan. A lot of times, when we'll get into this, a lot of times, those people are going to still want something out of it. And if you have to give them something, you might not want to close right away. If they want 10 grand or something like that, it's less attractive to me. 20 grand, less attractive, on a $400,000 house. But when we have a property where we can take over the payments, meaning it has pre-existing financing on it, we can go sell that house very easily and get 30, 40 grand from our buyer. So we literally could actually give our seller anywhere up to that number if we wanted to, or more if we wanted to. And you will still get yields that exceed what most investors get through other vehicles, whether it be stocks, bonds, whatever else they may be investing in. Now, when that happens, we'll usually use a 90-day close structure where we will find our buyer before we actually close with our seller, so that we aren't coming out of pocket at all, and we're just funding our purchase from the seller out of the buyer's proceeds. I do recommend, and we're going to go through this in great detail, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. You don't have to be a realtor to do this business. However, in today's day and age, where realtors make a tremendous amount of commission because of the price of houses, it makes sense to either have a realtor on your team, someone who's very close to you, or to actually have a license yourself. And it doesn't take that long to get a license. I'm not saying to use it to focus on brokering deals between buyers and sellers, but have it as a backdrop for when you don't actually buy properties as an investor. Okay, I went over sort of the macro level view of the business, the results we want, talked to you a little bit about why these payment terms are so fruitful for us. We went through $1 million of profits across a few deals last week. That's one you should all watch. The last 2 weeks, you should probably definitely watch those, and you'll see how much money can be made with these strategies. Now, where we left off is right here. So let me make this bigger, because you don't really need to see me. You need to see these slides. So I think if I do that, that should work a little better. All right, so let's talk about this now. Why in the world would a seller allow me to buy their house, become the owner of their house? They're the owner of that house. Why would they allow me to become the owner of that house when they have a big, fat, juicy mortgage on it that I'm making abundantly clear I ain't getting ready to pay off when we close? I will take over ownership of the house. I will take over the responsibility for making the payments on this, but we're not putting a new loan on the house. That defeats the purpose. There already is a loan on the house. It's your loan. That loan is going to stay in your name, and I'll make payments on it until we pay it off in the full at some point in the future. I don't know exactly when that will be. Now, you might have to negotiate. They might want it, within a certain time frame. But why would anybody do that, right? Get asked that question all the time. So many reasons. And folks, it's one of the problems in our society. This is what I wrote in one of the emails that I sent out, which is that people just have an unwillingness or an inability to actually try to see anything from anybody else's perspective. The lens through which you view the world is shaded by your own experience, by your own values, and that's fine. That's the way humans evolve, right? We discriminate based on our past experiences so that we can make better choices in life. And that's totally fine. But if you're going to walk through life where you can't have any kind of empathy for anybody and try to understand where they're coming from, the shade on your lens is actually blinding you from possibility. And there's tremendous possibility with this strategy. So let me tell you how it goes down. The majority of time, let's take a $400,000 property, right? The median price for a house across all markets in America is probably a little over 400, maybe a little under 400. I guess it depends on which data source you look at. But a $400,000 house, lots of Americans have gone and bought houses with 0% down, like VA programs, 1% down, 2% down, 3% down. Some people have put 4% down, 5% down, 6% down. On a $400,000 house, they're still coming up with 24, 25 grand, aren't they? So let's take that person who put, let's say they put 5% down. So they went and got a $400,000 house and they put 20 grand up and they went and got a $380,000 mortgage on it. Well, if they did that at the end of 2021, and here we are a year and a half later, and something changes in their life. Do things change in your life? Things change in other people's lives, and it doesn't have to be distress. Somebody gets a great job offer all the way across the country. They were planning on living in this city, in this house, raising a family, but the person gets a great job offer. Now they want to make more money. They want to go to that job. How are they going to sell that house? Well, I guess they could give it to a realtor, but then what? If the property hasn't appreciated, which properties haven't appreciated in a lot of markets since interest rates started going up, they've been flat to down in most markets. So if the property hasn't appreciated and they bought that house, say end of 2021, maybe it's even gone down a little bit, but let's say it's a $400,000 house. Well, the realtor is going to want 6% most of the time. There's 24 grand right there. Oh man, I got to pay the bank 380. That means I'd have to get 404. Well, I can't get 404 because Jim down the street sold his for 400. And it's the exact same model match. I don't know if I'm going to have to make payments on this thing going into the wintertime when I got to go for this job and I need the money that I'm making payments on this house with to go get a new house. And I really want that job. Dang, I'm going to have to literally bring money to close because there's little cosmetic things that are going to come up in the inspection that need to be fixed. I'm going to have more property tax prorations, more light bills, more lawn care bills. I'm going to have to wait 3-4 months before this thing actually closes just to end up having to bring money to close. Or worse, if the value of the property did go down slightly, they still have equity, right? They only owe 380. Let's say the property is worth 390. They have 10 grand of equity. They ain't getting it though, because the cost of selling eat right through that. And then here we come. Well, you're really just looking for the debt relief on this house, aren't you? Yeah, man, I just got to get the mortgage paid off so I can move on. I know I'm not going to get any money out of it because, the closing costs and the fees are going to eat all that up. Well, what if I could pay your closing costs for you? Take the house as is. We'll close whenever you're ready. And this won't be your problem anymore. We'll make the payments on it. Oh, well, that would be wonderful. You're going to pay off the loan. Well, we're going to pay off the loan over time. We'll pick up the payments on this. Your name stays on the loan, but we'll make the payments on it until we pay it off in full. That way, you can move on down the road at your convenience. Now, there's all kinds of concerns that can come up about that, but why would somebody do that? Because they don't want to continue making a payment on it and maybe not get that job. What if there was a romantic situation where they moved in, they bought a house together, they were thinking they were going to get married, they tried living together, and then after a year they hate each other? Does that ever happen? What if somebody loses their job and now they can't make the payments and they're worried about it going into foreclosure? They don't want to get behind. They don't want their credit trashed. Folks, I could just literally give you a litany of situations. They're not always distressed, though. Most of the time, the seller has very little equity. They owe just about as much as it's worth. And what happens is a traditional sale, it might pay the bank loan, but the seller's going to get nothing. There's not enough sale proceeds possible to pay the bank, pay the title company, pay the realtor. And they don't want to make payments and absorb the costs waiting for a sale. They just want out from under the monthly payment burden and the debt. This happens every day across America by the thousands. A lot of these people might already be behind on payments, or they might be current. Some of them are vacillating on whether they should just let it foreclose. Maybe they should do a short sale. Maybe they should just hand the bank the keys. And here you come, explaining what's going to happen. If you come into the coaching, we'll show you how we deal with all the things like the due on sale clause. Some of you maybe are thinking about, where the bank has the right to call the loan due if the title transfers. There's ways that we deal with that. There are questions that the seller is going to have about what if you don't pay. What about when they show the agreement to their attorney? We're not going to have time to go through all of that in this kind of a setting. If you want that detailed of information, you really need to get into some kind of a coaching program and get the actual help with the nuances of these deals so that you can get them done, because they're extremely profitable, as I showed you last week, to the tune of 7 figures. So let me ask you a question. Are there foreclosures in your market? Why? Why are there foreclosures? I would submit to you, we would significantly reduce any foreclosure, any rate of foreclosure in any market, if there were more of us going out to sellers and letting them know of this alternative. Because we have huge demand from buyers to move into houses that have pre-existing financing where they don't have to go get a new bank loan right away, but they have money, they have credit, they have ability, they have character, but they don't qualify for, with normal Fannie Freddie underwriting criteria. We'll be talking about that later as well. There are lots of reasons why people are willing to do this, as you can see. Now, one of the concerns that will come up sometimes is their attorney, their cousin, their advisor, their realtor friend, they just can't get past the idea of they're not going to own the house anymore, yet their name stays on the loan. When we can avoid the whole issue, if we have to, I prefer not to. I'm going to continue talking them through that, but we could also just rent the house from them for what their payment is and get an option to buy it during the term of the lease. That's called a lease purchase. Now we need to have the right to sublet the property and resell the property, which is exactly what we'll do. That's called a sandwich lease. Due on sale clause generally isn't going to be triggered when the seller retains the title and just leases the house out, even if they do give us an option, because the option is just an option. We haven't bought the house. Title hasn't transferred yet. Title does not change hands during the rental term. It changes hands when we exercise our option. And we're only going to exercise our option if our buyer is bringing in a new loan that we probably helped them qualify for, that pays off the existing seller's loan and whatever profit we have on the deal that we structured with our buyer. Okay, but it's not until then that the title and the deed actually transfers if we're doing a sandwich lease. So the lender wouldn't have any reason to call the loan due, would they? In that case. Now, why is it that some of these owner financing structures, seller financing structures that I've talked about are so incredibly valuable? One is I can almost always negotiate lower than market interest payments, if any interest payment, and get a lower monthly payment than I would otherwise get. The closing costs with this type of financing, it's way cheaper Then where there's like, all these junk bank fees that are put on a closing statement. I don't have to wait on an underwriting committee, a bank committee. I don't have to be overwhelmed with paperwork, basically signing my life away. None of the financing that I get from the seller is reported on my credit. It doesn't have any effect on my debt to income ratio. And I'm provided with massive flexibility in structuring deals, both as a seller and as a buyer. And my personal liability is minimized because I don't have any money in these deals and I don't have any credit in these deals. I have no personal guarantees on any of these deals. How would you like to have been in that situation for those of you who are old enough to remember 2008? How will you wish you were in that situation for the people who are doing incredibly idiotic things like the BRRRR strategy? Now, I know it's a cute little acronym, but go watch my video on why BRRRR is like one of the dumbest real estate things you can do. It doesn't mean that you can't make money at it. People make money doing dumb stuff all the time. I live in Vegas. People are going to make fortunes at the roulette wheel. Doesn't mean you should do it, does it? People are going to make a fortune on the Detroit Lions tonight, probably. Does that mean you should bet on those guys? I don't know. We close these properties and entities like land trusts, usually with the LLC as the beneficial interest. Sometimes we'll close in an LLC. It further reduces our liability and our risks. Now let's look at what the benefits are for us. We're going to be getting a non-refundable fee upfront from our buyer for allowing them to get in a house where no one else would put them in a house and they were relegated to having to get an apartment home. The desire for the American dream from these buyers to move into a beautiful house and not some apartment or rental home is tremendous. We're going to make that as an upfront fee while we help get them qualified for a loan that gets everybody cashed out. We're going to have a difference in the money coming in from our buyer and what we're paying out to either the seller or the bank. We have positive cash flow. We're going to have what I like to call mark-to-market paper equity upon our purchase and over time, meaning we're usually buying a house, like take that $400,000 house that we picked up for $380,000. We just take over the payments, right? We have $20,000 of equity on paper. You can't really realize it immediately. You can, there's things you can do, but we have 20 grand in paper equity. Now, what happens year after year after year is we're paying that 380 in the other person's name and the seller's name down. Well, it gets to 370, 360, 350. So now if there's no appreciation, now we have 50 grand of equity. What if there is appreciation and it goes up to 450? Now you got like 100 grand of equity. Okay, so all of that happens. I didn't have to do any rehab. I did not have to get my hands dirty. I didn't have to deal with contractors. I didn't have to deal with banks. I leveraged my brain instead of my brawn. I leveraged my skills instead of my treasure, my bank account meaning. So the debt pay down, like I described earlier, there's tax saving depreciation you get when you own these properties. You will own these properties, even though your name isn't on the loan. You do have the potential for appreciation. It's not guaranteed. I don't calculate it in as if it's definitely going to happen. I see people doing that. That's a mistake. Don't count on appreciation. Just because it's happened doesn't mean it's going to continue to happen. Get these deals done where you don't have to depend on that. It's great if it happens. It's a bonus if it happens. Sometimes our buyer who gave us all this money down lives there for a year and a half and their life changes and now they're not going to exercise their option. They go bye-bye and we do the whole thing again. A second time, a third time, a fourth time. That's how you get to these massive paydays like I showed you last week. One of them over 700,000 across several buyers that we had. Another one over $250,000 across, I think, 4 different buyers that we had over a few years. And then another one that was 50 grand, one buyer within 1 year on that house. We also sometimes have the ability to pay off early whatever we might owe a seller and not a bank, but a seller, and go to that seller and say, hey, I might be able to pay you off early. Would you take less if I pay you off early, or would you rather me just pay you in a few years like we talked about? You can get another payday on that exact same house. Folks, the golden eggs just keep getting laid by these golden geese when you learn how to get the geese. How do I acquire golden geese? How do I acquire a golden goose farm laying golden eggs all over the place? And it's not even Easter. That's what we want to do. Now, why would some sellers prefer this alternative? Well, they get a faster sale. Don't have to worry about making any more payments on it. It's off their plate. They're out now from under that monthly debt. The guy who wants to go get the job in the other state, move his family, somewhere else. Now he doesn't have to worry about making that payment on that $380,000 house. They can go get a rental or something for a little while, probably a nice, really nice place, and live there without having to make two payments. There's lots of people who have had that situation. They're making two payments. They got a house sitting vacant somewhere while interest rates are going up, and they're freaking out. It's causing them a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. They don't want to deal with that. Plus, we're going to pay their closing cost, or there just might not even be any if we're doing the where we're leasing it from them with an option to buy it. They don't have to have their equity siphoned away with commission. So let's take that $400,000 deal and it's $380,000. What if the seller just won't let me do it and they insist they got to get the $20,000? Well, they're not going to get it up front, but if I wanted to, I could give it to them up front probably, because I'm probably going to get 30 or 40 from my buyer up front. So I could pay that seller off and then get all the other benefits of the deal. I also could probably say, well, I'll give you, $5,000 a year for 4 years. Every Christmas we'll give you $5,000. There's lots of things that I can do to get them that equity. They don't have to have it siphoned away to pay for some Schmendrick Realtor's pink Cadillac, right? Or pink Range Rover is what I've been seeing around town. I swear, every one of these little Vegas realtors driving around in their Range Rovers, they're a little white Range Rover. I mean, just I don't know why I can't stand that car. I just see too much of it around here. But anyway, sorry if y'all have that white Range Rover. Sell it and get something, it's like something a little bit different. I know it's a nice car. Everybody has their little things, right? Look, I shouldn't talk. I like to drive. I still like to drive a F-150, tricked out F-150, right? I like the F-150 myself. And Lambos. There's 2 Lambos parked down there right now. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, getting off topic. Oftentimes, if the property is free and clear, they can make more money on their equity, right? Because they have equity in the house by financing it to us, than they would be able to in a bank. You can get the 10-year note is about 4.5% right now, 30 years, somewhere in that range. We might be able to beat that, and it's safe, it's secured by the house. You give them a higher price. So, the seller can get more money this way. That's the point. That's what people want. And if you learn to express that confidently with these sellers, you can get these deals done, folks. Now, oops. Let me show you this slide here. And then next week, we'll maybe go through some more examples of these deals. Let me keep you for a few more minutes here. A lot of times, these particular sellers have had like a bad realtor experience in the past. They just don't want to deal with a realtor. And you're able to come in and get this deal done. Sometimes you'll get people who are older, who are, kind of getting to potentially the end of their lives, and they've got children who are involved in all kinds of nefarious things, and they don't want their kids getting a big old lump of sum of money. So they structure an annuity. They structure basically a payment stream that those kids will inherit, so it's not splurged away. And if the house has been paid off and it's free and clear, they can downsize in an apartment or a littler house without having to give up a big chunk of money in closing costs, inspection concessions, realtor fees, discounts to owner-occupant, bank-qualified buyers. Get a better price from us, but get it monthly. Becomes a great source of income, a great source of comfort for a lot of people. So you can't just apply your value system to why other people do certain things. People are different. We all have different stripes. We all have different experiences that make us do certain things. Don't think just because it doesn't work for you that it's not going to work out great for somebody else. Maybe the house needs some cosmetic repairs and they just don't want to have to deal with that trying to get it ready for sale. So we'll go through some other examples of deals and how much money you can make on these things, because it's just an absolute cash cow. It really is. So look, if this is interesting to you, use the Facebook group. There's a mini course in there. The YouTube channel has quite a lot of videos. In the events tab, there's all kinds of videos. I mentioned Burr. I did a thing a couple years ago called The Good, Bad, and Ugly. Like a lot of people have been talking about, the Burr lately and wholesaling, and I kind of detail, why those strategies are okay, but they're not optimum. So you can check some of that out. But if you're really serious about putting big numbers on the board, making some cash before Christmas so that you can get the things you want to get for your family, so that you can give to the charities that you want to give to, so that you can do the things that you want to do, so you can quit being a job slave, and you want to start taking this stuff seriously versus trying to learn from YouTube University. Extremely difficult for me to just convey all this to you, 30 years of experience through this kind of a forum. You need coaching, one-on-one coaching, and help. I'm writing contracts for people all day today, basically. I'm not going to make any of that money, but there's hundreds of thousands of dollars being made every day by people who actually get trained on how to do it and actually have somebody hand-holding them through things. But if you want to make hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, is it fair to assume that you understand that you got to put at least a couple of $1,000s into your skill development? I mean, we send people to 4 years of college, right? And spend way more than a few $1,000s on just one semester of a college class. And that college education probably isn't going to make anybody as much money as what you'll learn in a very good real estate education program that comes with the coaching and mentoring that helps you get across the finish line. So anyway, I don't want to turn it into a sales pitch. If y'all want to actually make real money, at least jump on a call, jump on a Zoom call. It's very easy to do. We'll figure out some kind of a plan for you one way or another, whether it's with me or with somebody else, and that I'm not even affiliated with, that might be, potentially could be more appropriate for you. And if you're just, determined to learn from YouTube University, we can talk about, maybe how that might work. But I can tell you right now, 95% of people are not going to be successful in real estate just from coming to events like this and learning on YouTube. You do need coaching. You do need help. It's the fastest way to get where you want to go. What you're learning in here is it's just like a little nugget. It's like not even 1% of what my actual clients get. So I should just take a quick peek. So schedule a Zoom call. I don't see the names in here, but thank you for the comments. Joel is the real deal. Nice to see you without a hat. That's from I did used to wear a hat a lot, but I haven't been lately. That's true. I got my Blackhawks hat over there. So actually, I'm missing that game. I got that record. I'm going to go check that out. Connor Bedard. Holy cow. We'll have this on tape, right? This will be in the Facebook group 20 years from now. That kid might be the next Wayne Gretzky. That kid is something else. If you're into hockey, that kid is something else. 18 years old and playing a game among men, scoring goals all over the place. So, all right, everybody. I appreciate you hanging with me here on a Thursday night. I'm going to let you all run. I appreciate y'all. We'll see you guys later. Have a great night.